So this is to Catholics about understanding the Eastern Orthodox Church in a practical way. For the first 1,000 years, the Church was one. Then came a split. Now there were originally 3 sees: Rome, Antioch, and Alexandria. After Nicaea, Constantinople was added and Jerusalem was added. Or I should say Jerusalem was restored, because Jerusalem had been leveled and crushed and destroyed multiple times by the pagan Roman Empire. It should be known that the Roman Catholic Church has stated that the Eastern Orthodox baptism, chrismation, and Eucharist is fully valid, and that a Roman Catholic can enter an Eastern Orthodox church and receive the Eucharist. And the Roman Catholic Church says that an Eastern Orthodox Christian can receive the Eucharist in its Mass. Now, the Eastern Orthodox do not say this. We say we are not in communion. And it's funny, the Roman Catholic Church will agree that we're not in communion. They'll say we're schismatic but not heretical. We say that they are schismatic and heretical. I would urge anyone who's not Eastern Orthodox, even Catholics, you cannot take the Eucharist in the Eastern Orthodox Church. You can eat the prosophoria bread that they'll hand out to you, but going up to the chalice, you cannot do that, because we do not share the same beliefs. People say, well, it's just the filioquate and Petrine primacy, which is what happened at the split in 1054. The filioquate was adding to the Niceo-Constantinopolitan Creed the words "and the Son." That's what filioque means. And then also the Bishop of Rome, who was people said, okay, he's first in love, first in honor of the bishops, but all bishops are equal. But like the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court or something like that, because the seat of power was moved from Rome to Constantinople. Now, there had been things growing since the 4th or 5th century, some strange ideas, and which led to this. And the Bishop of Rome said, I am the head. I am bishop of all bishops. And even though the Alexandria, Antioch, Jerusalem, and Constantinople were not politically connected in any way, so there couldn't be a sword over their head or anything, because most of them were under Islamic control, all said, no, you're not. And even at certain councils that were held in the 12th and 13th centuries, where they said, just come back under the papacy and we will kick out the Muslims from your area. With the Western armies, we'll declare a crusade to get rid of them, a new crusade. And the shout was rather the turban of the Sultan than the mitre of the Pope. Why can't there ever be reunion? And why is dialogue silly? Well, one, because since 1054, immediately after that, there was the works of Aristotle that were rediscovered by the West, and the rise of scholasticism. And you had people like Anselm of Canterbury. And you had the ideas of penal substitution, satisfaction, substitutionary atonement attached to the idea of the crucifixion. And you had pretty much all doctrine started becoming dogmatic. Then you had Thomas Aquinas come around with transubstantiation, where he chose to explain the Eucharist, or explain things about the Eucharist. And he had the merit box of the saints, and purgatory came about. It was first mentioned in word by Gregory the Great before the schism, but nothing like what, and we don't believe in, we won't use the word. We believe the afterlife is all purgatory, basically. That's another video, though. But these things became dogmas of the church. Now, the Eastern Orthodox Church has no systematic doctrine, dogma, or theology. We have doctrine, we have dogma, we have theology. We don't have systematic doctrine, dogma, or theology, which means the West took Greek thought and figured out things about God and then made them dogma, like what Anselm of Canterbury and Thomas Aquinas did. Another big deal, huge deal, is iconography, right? The Seventh Ecumenical Council was convened and laid down the canons. You can make an icon of the Son because he came in flesh, and you can revere images and relics, and you can petition the saints for prayer. But you are strictly forbidden from making an icon of the Father. An image of the Father is blasphemy, complete and utter blasphemy. And the Holy Spirit may only be represented in certain allegorical ways. A dove, fire, something like that. Now, the Roman Catholic Church says that the Seventh Ecumenical Council is dogmatic. But then I tell you to look up at the Sistine Chapel, and you will see an image of God the Father. Also, practically, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope has said, the Eastern Orthodox Church is not in heresy, only in schism, and that any Roman Catholic can come in and take our Eucharist, that our baptism, chrismation, and Eucharist is valid. All of our holy mysteries are valid. You would call them sacraments. And that even Eastern Orthodox can go in and take the Eucharist at a Roman Catholic Church. We don't believe this. We think this is dangerous, and we won't allow it. Only under extreme situations like the Intifada, where the Israelis were just slaughtering Palestinians, was economia granted for Orthodox to receive the Eucharist in Catholic churches. But you have to understand, in Palestine, they practice very similarly, and it's not like America. But beyond what you guys would call dispensation, we call economia, no. If you are not Orthodox, if you have not gone to confession, you are not allowed to take the Eucharist, go up to the chalice. You can visit, and you can eat the prosperfora bread. People give you these cut up pieces of bread. That's not the Eucharist. The Eucharist is from the chalice. Last Sunday, I didn't go because I got there too late, and I missed the homily, so I couldn't take it. I stayed around for the rest of the service and took some prosperfora bread, but I did not take the Eucharist. This is not done out of hostility, it's just done out of understanding. Also, since 1054, nothing in the West is recognized by the East or believed in, except in Theologomena, which is privately, and many of the East revere Francis of Assisi. There's even icons of him. The only thing, without exception, the only thing that ever happened in the West after 1054 that is fully recognized by the Eastern Orthodox Church and used is the apparition of Guadalupe, and the image left on Juan Diego's tilma. That is a valid image because there was no mysteries, there was no backing up of Roman Catholic dogma. The Theotokos just said, "Follow my son," which is exactly what you would say. So, peace to you. This is not something to be hostile or anything, it's just for understanding.